Okay, so this is a gun I've been kind of working on putting together. It's my 223, and it started out life as a 20-inch tactical, Remington 700. They claim that these have a 1 in 9 twist, so I wanted to get it because I wanted to shoot some heavier match type bullets, and that's proven to be kind of difficult. I've been, it will shoot the Hornady 75 grain match, the factory loaded ammo, great. I bought a bunch of 75 grain Hornady, and I haven't been able to replicate that accuracy. And whenever I get into some, more videos about hand loading for this, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I can always come back and get good groups out of that 75 grain factory stuff, but the 75 grain stuff that I'm loading up is about 1 inch group. Doesn't matter what powder, doesn't matter what brass, doesn't matter how far I seat it. It's always about 1 inch. So I'm going to keep on experimenting with different powders. Now that I have a chronograph, I can look and see. I have noticed that some of my stuff was shooting a lot slower, so maybe I'm not reaching the velocity that I need to. But for whatever reason, we're going to figure out how to get this 1 in 9 twist to shoot some. I've shot some 68 grain, 69 grain, 75 grain, and I've got some 77 grain. That I would be happy if it would just shoot that 68, 69 grain stuff. I would be ecstatic if I could get it to replicate that 75 or even the 77 grain Match King stuff, because I'm going to try to take this gun out as far as I can. I've got some places where I can shoot out to 800 yards, maybe 1,000 if we move some stuff around. So I had the last time, I think I was I don't know if I posted that video, but I had a Bushnell. I've got the XRS Elite Tactical. I took it off of this because I'm going to move it over to my 308. This is a Vortex Viper 5-25, the Gen 2. I really like it. I like the reticle that's in it for being able to do some holdover and hold for windage, because it's got that Christmas tree type reticle with lots of dots in there. So what I've done, this gun came in a hogue. It's a rubberized plastic stock. It's got aluminum pillars for the front and rear action screws. So I don't know if you would call that, a rigid stock. It's not. It's got a lot of flex to it. So I knew I wanted to get something, free float the barrel, be 100%. I knew I was getting something more rigid, and looking around, and for the price, I decided to go with this KRG, their Bravo, their Kinetic Research Group Bravo. I've seen a lot of guys running them on their 22s, and even a few guys running them on centerfires. So I decided to go with that, and it had a sling stud on the front. I put the Picatinny on here. I'll talk about that in a minute. But so that's what I'm trying to accomplish with this setup, is something that's going to be for varmint hunting and just plinking, fun shooting. I've got so much 223 brass that I can reload. I'll literally never run out of brass to reload. So I just wanted a 223 in my, in my safe that I could pull out and have fun reloading for, and have fun shooting, and doesn't have any recoil. This is a Silencer Co. Harvester. It's a Harvester 300 on here, rated up to 300 Win Mag. And this is a Coltac cover. This cover has helped me a lot because I was dealing with pretty bad mirage. This scope, I'm running it in the medium height precision rings, and these are just Seekins rings that I think they make for Vortex. They're identical to the Seekins rings. So these are medium height Vortex precision, and this is a 50 millimeter objective. So you can see that's, I don't really want mine lower than that, and I don't want it much higher than that. This stock, I'll get into talking about the stock a little bit. So you loosen that knob and you can adjust your cheek height right here. Because I've got the scope pretty low, I'm not running it with any elevation. It's fine for me the way it is. And then I put 2 of the spacers. It came with 3. The length of pull was a little bit short the way it came. So I added 2 of these spacers, and that made it about perfect for where I want to just throw up, and I'm right where I want to be with the 2 spacers in there. So I guess if you ran all 3 of those, it would give you probably right around another inch or so. And it's got a flush cup mount that you can move from one side to the other, but I would have to add another flush cup on the front to run a sling. This is plastic, but the tong part is metal that catches your magazine. So you can run any AICS style magazine. This is, even as big as it is, this is a 223 made by MDT. It locks up good, and I've fed probably 100 rounds through it already. And I think it picks up the round. I don't understand why. Maybe because it's centered, and the BDL follower that's in here, the rounds are double stacked, and that's a single stack. But it's feeding them directly into the center. So I actually think the gun feeds better. I've done it slow. I've tried to do it right. You see guys that are just like doing it real fast or whatever. I've literally tried to make it jam. It won't. So I think it feeds a little bit better than running that BDL floor plate bottom metal that it had. And I was worried about that. I didn't want to go to a magazine system and have it hanging up all the time and stuff like that. But this is a polymer MDT mag. And like I said, and it feeds great. The reason that I took the sling stud off the front was because there wasn't one in the back at all. There's a place for one, but I wanted to put this bipod on here that snaps on and off. And the only trouble I had, so when I took that little sling stud off, a piece fell down in here. So I had to end up dumping it out. I think what you would want to do is not do it like I did. It has a little backer. So the backing goes on there, and the screw goes into the backing and it sandwiches it. The front one I could reach with my finger through the opening right there. The other one is back here. So I had to put a little piece of masking tape, and I held it on a butter knife. I stuck the butter knife down in there until I could get it to start. And this just came with it. This is a plastic little thing, but it's good enough for what I want to do with that. But see, you've got mounting options. You can mount an Arca rail on here. You could mount any of the M-LOK design stuff. This is kind of a little barricade stop if you wanted to rest it up against here. I've heard people that have feeding problems, when they throw up and they push on this, they use this as a barricade stop. It can cause you some feeding issues. I guess technically this is one, but I still wouldn't want to use that. It's getting kind of close to your magazine, but yeah. What else? This part is plastic. This is all plastic. The only thing that I can tell it's aluminum in here is just this runs from here back to here, and it's what the action sits in. It comes with its own proprietary action screws because they need to be shaped a little bit different. The other one's captured down in there. To take this plastic off of this aluminum chassis, you'd have to remove, I think, all these screws. So it's pretty much on there. I've seen people, you can take this part out right here. I left it in there because that sits in my bag, and it gives you a true vertical grip. I put my thumb right here, and I noticed it's a lot more repeatable than that old one. So the old one, sometimes I grab it here. I was all over the place. This, because I can feel it, it makes a perfect spot to put my thumb. That way I'm not pulling the trigger like this. I'm not getting any, I'm not torquing it at all. So I don't know, but group wise, it hasn't shrunk the groups any from using that hogue. It's not something that the other stock wasn't affecting the accuracy of the rifle. So I'd hoped to get a little more accuracy out of it. I hoped that changing to this stock was going to give it some more. I was going to squeeze out just a little bit of accuracy, but I don't think that hogue stock being flimsy, and I've shot other guns that are in flimsy stocks and they just shoot. So I think as long as the barrel and the action are true and you're doing something repeatable. Now the only time I would think that you would see a change of a stock affect the accuracy is if you had contact somewhere that was affecting the harmonics or something of the barrel, and then you went to a completely free floated, and then all of a sudden, it was a heavy recoiling rifle that was impacting this up here. But being a 223 and being that it was sitting on that rubberized hogue, and it was almost free floated. At times I feel like maybe you could have slid something down there, and other times it looked like it'd be touching or something. But now I know that it's going to be 100% free floated. I know that it's going to be in something that's really rigid. So I know that I'm executing the same repeatable trigger pull and everything. I know that I'm getting everything in the same spot every time. I could just worry about hand loading some ammo that's going to be accurate in the rifle. It also shot the Berger 73 grain Federal Gold Medal match. It shot it great. So I may try to get my hands on some of those 73 grain Bergers and reload those. This gun loves the Berger 60 grain Varminter, the flat base bullet. It just loves them. No matter what kind of powder I put in it, those Berger 60 grain Varminters shot good. So I don't know, but it comes with the spacers, the little deal here, comes with the action screws. Trying to think what else you get with it. You get some extra little plates in here. You get a cool sticker. These are the little plates and the screws that come with it. These are what the spacers look like. And then with the spacers, you use different lengths. So every time you add a spacer, you have to change the length of the screw. I went ahead and ordered some aftermarket bolts because I didn't know if I was going to need them or not. And turns out you don't use the beveled action screws. These are just hex head, regular that go down into a slot. The beveled ones actually wouldn't even work in here. So, but yeah, it didn't add much weight. It's a lightweight stock. All the other junk I put on it has added the majority of the weight. The scope's pretty heavy. The steel, this is a Leupold Mark IV base. It's steel. I had it in, when I had that Bushnell scope on here, it was really heavy. This scope doesn't have zero stop, but I'm not worried about that. When I get it to where I want to be, I'm going to reset it to 0. And it has a little indicator on top here so you're at 0. And I'm not going to do a bunch of dialing, cranking on it. If I run out of elevation in my scope and I can't see my holdover, I might dial, but then I'll keep track of how many revolutions I make and just bring it back to 0 that way. So, but other than that, it's in my opinion, for 400 and I don't know what the retail, 449 or something like that. It's a good replacement for that hogue thing that came on here. That other stock, I just really don't like it. This to me gives it a better look. It gives it a better feel, and I think just for what I'm using it for right now, shooting off of a bench, shooting out to, as far as I can have the ability to shoot, to me, it's perfect. This isn't. I wouldn't say that this stock is something you would use in a hard use setting that your life depended on it. I would get something, you know, made out of fiberglass or carbon fiber and something epoxy resin. But for a weekend warrior like me and just going out and shooting for fun and making the kind of a tactical bolt gun, I love it. It's done the job that I've needed. I wanted a magazine. I wanted a vertical grip. I wanted some places to put attachment stuff. I may shoot it some out of my bog pod, and it balances really good. That saddle, you know, on the bog pod thing, I'll just clamp it on right here, and I can still get to my magazine and still run it and everything like that. Just for like calling coyotes or somewhere where you don't have a place to get a rest on, I'll take that death grip bog pod with me and just grip it down on there. And we used it in some night vision hunting when we went with thermals, and it worked great. So, but that's about it. The next thing, the thermal probably is going to be the next purchase I make. And I had that in mind whenever I was also putting this gun together as a gun that I could use a thermal with. So this one and my 308 both. I'll have some direct comparison because I bought another stock, a BRAVO stock that's going to go probably on my 308 or maybe my 243. I don't know. I'll show you that stock right quick. This is the alternative to that KRG. Screws are trying to come out. I've got a bottom metal here. So this is the alternative to something like this, is getting a BRAVO stock that's got aluminum bedding block in there. It's very rigid. I'm gonna have this on a different gun. This is a Heritage bottom metal that will allow me to run. It's gonna allow me to run a magazine in it too. So I'll have some direct comparison. There's a little slack in there. I don't know if I'm gonna have it bedded or not, but this will give me some comparison to, I'm either gonna put my 308 or my 243 in this and set it up kind of similar to that one, but it's the same thing. It gives you almost perfect vertical grip, and I just don't know how it's gonna feel whenever I get my thumb on it, but I got this KRG first and I liked it so much that I was like, man, I had never used a stock that had a vertical grip on it, so I didn't want, that one is a whole other ballgame. That one's like $200 more. So this one's like $649, this one's like $449. And honestly, this one has probably more stuff you can add on and take off of it and than that one does. But so that's kind of the other way to go, is if you're not going to get one like this, you're going to have to get something like either a Macmillan or a Manners or an AG composite or BRAVO. A lot of people make this style now, and here's that. Instead of being straight, it's kind of got that cutout for you to put your hand whenever you're getting, you know, braced up. But yeah, it's a little more bulky. You can tell down the fore end, it's a little thicker, and I don't like that. I like the KRG better from that aspect, that it's a little thinner up here, more slimline. I just really like it a lot. It's you know, I'll post some shooting videos up, and you guys can see what I'm talking about whenever I say, you know, using this vertical grip here is repeatable. But for $450, it's I see people running these things in like PRS matches and stuff, and definitely I see people running them in the rimfire matches. So I've got a Tikka T1X, and they make one of these for, if you got this is a thing, they make one of these KRGs for all the popular platforms. CZ, Tikka, and Rimfire, Remington and all the Remington clone, and the Tikka T3, all of their centerfire guns. So yeah, this isn't a, you know, if I didn't like it and I hated it, I would be making the same video saying this thing is a piece of cheap junk. But I mean, they've obviously done their research. There's a reason why a lot of people run them and use them. It's a great stock. I'm surprised, to be honest. I thought I was gonna have some stuff I didn't like about it. It's drilled and tapped up here, so obviously you can put a shroud over here that runs a Picatinny, I guess, to run your clip on if you want to run night vision in front of your day scope. But it's got, you can just go check out their website. It's got all kinds of junk you can add on to this thing. I think you can even add an extended thing on here if you want to run your bipod out further. It's got a keyway here that fits another piece. So, but this is their bottom line entry. They go up from there. Whiskey 3, X-Ray, and then I don't know how to pronounce this other one. SOITIC, Sodic rifle. That looks like maybe like a complete rifle that they build. I don't know, but because it looks the same as a Whiskey 3. They've got some pictures here on the box of their other chassis. But this is a starting point, and then it goes up from here in price and features. So, anyways, thanks for watching. That's all I can. That's about all I can think of to go over. We've kind of hit all the high points. So, appreciate it.